Shalonda, this is Dr. Jester. I want to go over your paper for just a few moments. And let's go ahead and look and see what we've got here. So from the very start, you've got a heading, Basic Perspectives of Servanthood right here. That's good. Except you need an introduction. If you're going to write a paper, always provide an introduction that details the subject to be evaluated and all that you will say about that subject. So, for example, you could have said that this essay evaluates servanthood as seen through three particular perspectives: the basics of servanthood, the process of becoming a servant, and the challenges of being a servant. So always provide an introduction, always make it at least 3 sentences, and have a thesis statement that describes what you intend to say about that. Second of all, one of the next things I notice throughout your essay is that you use footnotes for scriptures. So you've got footnote 2, Matthew 20:27. Footnote 3 is Colossians 3:12. If you will look in your style guide, I provided you a copy of this. Very first topic, one of the first things I posted, the style guide. That should be something you always have handy as a ready reference to know how to do each of these things. On pages 21 through 22, it plainly describes how you should be citing scripture references. They always go in parentheses after the quotation that you're using. The first time that you quote a passage, you need to tell which version of scripture you're going to be using. So you will have a footnote in that case that will say all scripture references are from the English Standard Version unless otherwise noted. That's what your footnote should say. So I included that there as a reference for you, but do get the study guide out. Now, you quote Elmer a few times. One of the other problems, you're not providing page numbers. So there's no way to go back in and verify that exact quote without having the page number. I would have to read the whole book. So always include page numbers. Otherwise, it's considered an incorrect citation. Here you've got something written that's misspelled. And I don't know if that was in the original that way or you made some adjustments. If it's an error in the original, there's a certain way that you provide the quote to note the error. You have to do that yourself. You have to look in Turabian to find that. Otherwise, it's also considered an incorrect quotation. But again, provide the page numbers. Got a lot of great thoughts, really, throughout your paper. And as far as the content is concerned, that's really good. The issue is, though, is style more than anything else. Notice right here, so when you first quote a book, a source, you must provide complete bibliographic data. Let's say that's footnote 1. If you quote from that same source 5 footnotes later, then you use the shortened form of that. You don't have to include the complete bibliographic information. You use the author's last name, a shortened title, and the page number. All right, so that's what you include. If, for example, you're quoting from the same source in footnote 3 and again in footnote 4, they follow each other, you would use IBID with the page number. IBID means from the same source. It's a shortened form as well, but that is the correct procedure. The other thing here, I'm not sure why you included these down here. That's totally redundant. What you would include is, if you wanted, you don't have to. It's assumed you're quoting from the Bible, but you could put or place here your particular Bible that you're using. For example, the NIV Full Life Study Bible. You could list that, but you wouldn't list individual chapters, verses from particular books. Secondly, you're using one source in a Bible dictionary that was online. In your instructions, you should have read that also to use 1 or 2 sources outside of your reading material. So from the library, a journal article on servanthood, some other book on servanthood, but something that adds to your discussion points. When you rely upon one source too much, then your conclusions could be considered biased based upon that person's perspective. So you need multiple sources that kind of balance out the perspective and ideas about servanthood. Now, I've said all that. Now we're at one of the major issues that we have going on here. When I go in to turn it in to just check your document very quickly, I get a warning that pops up on my screen right about here that says there's too many quotations. So there's a similarity score, which needs to be 20% or less. There's also a quotation score that you don't see. So when I get that warning about too many quotes, I select that filter, I deselect this, I apply those changes, and then it takes me back to this. It tells me the exact percentage of your document that is in quoted material. So 29% of what you've written comes from other sources. So it's not original to you. What that indicates is that your argument is relying too much on what the Bible and Elmer is saying. So in this case, you're quoting too much. How do you rectify that? Well, you quote less. You, for example, could say right here, put on God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. So you could say that Scripture says that if you really want to serve people, you should be a compassionate, kind, humble, meek, and patient person. So you're not actually quoting the verse, but you still reference the verse. So you take out the exact quote, but you still say the same thing. So you want to cut down on your quotes. And here's the issue. Between 20 and 30%, I give warnings. Anything 30% and above requires a revision. So in my, I want to be generous here. You're under that 30%, but now that you know, if a document comes in at 32%, I am going to need you to revise it, and I don't think you want to do that. So that's just something to be aware of going forward in the future. Otherwise, content is great. You just need to work on quotations, especially, and also your style issues. Make sure you read through that style guide. Know exactly how each thing should be done and when you should do it. All right? Blessings on you.